All right, let's go ahead and get started. Thank you everyone for joining the DevTest Community Webcast today. Today we have a presentation from Anand Kamaswaran and Chris Kraus on what's new in 9.5. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Anand to get started. Go ahead, AK.
Thank you very much. So thank you all for joining. Today we're going to cover what's new in the 9.5 release for CA Service Virtualization, CA Application Test, and CA Continuous Application Insight. So first I want to just do a quick highlight on what we have in our 9.5 release that came out in July. So on the service virtualization side, we have now enabled some new features around Mainframe. So Kix virtual service recording and copybook bundles, we can now do all of that through the portal. We've also increased support for additional types of virtual services, so we can support those services that are using fragmented COM areas, as well as Kix-Link's TSQ. In addition to the Mainframe additions, we are working on much more streamlined workflows. So we have put into the sandbox new ways of configuring virtual services after the fact, which has been something a lot of folks have asked for. We also have a new workflow for creating virtual services from RR pairs. On the app test side, really proud to introduce the integration with CA Agile Central so that you can sync together your test results right from the portal into Agile Central. We've also enhanced our HPALM plugin and now support 64-bit, have a 64-bit plugin for HPALM, as well as some additional views for the coordinator and simulator in the DevTest portal. With CAI, we have a new integration with CA API management so that you can capture the request and response data. This is going to make it a lot easier for our customers who have both to create their virtual services and baselines, as well as additional mainframe transaction visualization. A couple of quick notes. We have, with 9.5, sunset the DevTest and server console, so there's one less component you have to worry about for your architecture. We have a new UI for access control, making it easier for you to control who has access to what with it for your virtual services and tests. A new audit report addressing some of the concerns people had in visibility on the usage of the solution. So we have enhanced that audit report. And along with the moves, we have better views into the server monitor and component health summary, all there within that DevTest portal. We've made it easier for you to change your password when not using LDAP, so we can do that straight through the UI. And we've added SQL 2014 to our certified set of databases. So with that being said, I want to take some time to delve into the details on these features, and I'm going to pass it over to our product manager, Chris Kraus, to start us off.
Okay. So hello, everyone. So exciting new things around integration with Agile Central. So we're finding customers are getting more DevOps and Agile oriented and the way they're planning their releases and their software. So the key to that change is you think about a feature goes into a specific build of your software, and that build goes through the testing cycle to make sure that feature works as expected. So Agile Central allows us, when we inject test results into it, to do it by build number. So what happens is you can now, when you run a test, you can actually specify the build that the test is run against, and then that gets reported into Agile Central, so you get the pass and fail, so you can see for a feature, is it passing or failing by build number, and then you can link and download the full report if you're interested in looking at it. But the key thing is we're now correlating from the user story perspective. User stories have test cases have a status of did they pass or fail by build. So this is different than the way you think about it, let's say like Quality Center, where your tests are just running over time and hopefully, you know, at the end of your waterfall, everything's green. So we think it's the right direction, and new features there. The ability to associate build numbers or dynamic properties was added in version 9, in 9.5, we've now added the ability to link your test results into the reports of Agile Central. So important for your DevOps and continuous journey. Okay. Next thing we did was integrate into CA APIM. So we found there's customers who use the APIM gateway, and what they're interested in is providing that one location to point to serve up, say, your microservices or your REST services, your SOAP web services, and that. What's interesting enough is customers are mirroring their production and their development. So developers are registering a new service they're writing with, say, the APIM gateway. That becomes the endpoint for the clients who consume it. What we've done is we've created a way now that you can create your test cases and virtual services without having to do gateways or man-in-the-middle attacks. What happens is we point to the APIM, we deploy a global policy which will send copies of the requests and responses that have gone through the gateway to us. So in the analyzed transactions in the portal, you can see them, and then from there you can create a virtual service and create a test case. Now the cool thing is you can actually never have to reconfigure your client applications to go through the proxy recorder. Since the gateway knows that they exist, the gateway can capture those transactions. The other thing you can do is you can easily reroute between the real service and the virtual service with an APIM. It's just a policy change. So it should simplify the way we think about building our virtual services and APIs. We don't have to have a conscious, let's start a recorder and change ports. We can kind of do it in the background. So it should help people build more virtual services based on observations that have already happened. Okay. Cool new things on the mainframe. So what you'll see here is, first thing, we're showing stitching across transactions in the CSCS regions. In the past, we showed each CSCS region separately. Now, what you'll see is this COBOL program called DIM3 went from region 1 to CSCS S2 to 3. So the transactions go across 3 regions. We also now show you the payloads within the portal. So in Analyze Transactions, you'll see your agents for the mainframe. These are CSCS. You can then now see your links and DPLs between your programs and see the payloads there. Now the nice thing is, if you've seen this transaction and you place one on the shelf, all you do is have to point to the copybook, and we will now generate your virtual services for you. So you don't have to go through the act of recording. What you do is do the act of activate the listeners, say pump your transactions down to the database, Analyze Transactions sees them. You can read them in English to make sure you've got the right ones. Remember, you still have full text search in here, and you can generate your virtual services. So it'll make it easier to work with mainframe to mainframe dependencies. Okay? So the new things that moved over into the portal, there's quite a few, is we've actually added the VSC recorder there also. So we've moved that from the workstation into the web portal. So you can do your virtualizations through DTP MRO transactions. You can see the copybooks. We support what are called fragmented COM areas, which is when you have COM areas split into small pieces, temporary storage queues or TSQs. And then we have all the visualization in the web portal now. So it's really nice first-class citizen. So I challenge you to start installing it and using it. I think you'll find it provides a dramatically better experience in virtualization of the mainframe. Okay. Now, like I mentioned, we actually have ported the recorder from the old workstation into the web portal. So now you're kind of soup to nuts on mainframe transactions. The same simplified user workflow we have is a 3-step process to define it, configure it, and build it out. It's available. You'll notice we just have the new options when we do the recording. So the recording allows you to specify your PPTs, your PCTs you're interested in the CSCS regions. Then, of course, you end up in the same service image editor where you see the data presented in the copybook format. So really nice usability enhancements. You can actually go beginning to end with recording and deploying of mainframe virtual services from the web portal itself. And the cool thing is you have 2 options, agent-based through observations or active recorders. And I'm going to pass to AK, and he's going to talk about some of the cool new features that have been in Sandbox for you guys to preview and give us feedback on.
Thanks, Chris. So the first piece I want to talk about is what we are calling service configuration. So when you, within the portal where you used to be able to edit the virtual service image, we now have ability to edit a lot more of the properties and things associated with a virtual service. Those of you familiar with the workstation would have seen many of these things as part of the VSM, the virtual service model. Well, a lot of the reason driving this is we wanted to provide easy-to-use workflows within the portal, as well as address concerns around the ability to recreate services without needing to re-record. So rather than worry about importing raw XML or some of the other things that we've done in the workstation in the past, you can simply go to an existing virtual service and make the changes to the transport, or edit and make changes to your data protocol handlers. Along with this, we have a new way of viewing the effects of each data protocol handler. So when you're working with those and trying to get the right behavior out of your virtual service, you can see the impact of each and every choice you make right then and there instead of having to run it and go back and check later. So I really would like to encourage everyone to go start using the feature. It's available for a subset of our DPHs right now, but we are looking to expand this, and so really would appreciate any feedback. Go back to the communities, let us know what you think in terms of how this makes the workflow easier, and we're always open to suggestions on how to improve this going forward. So another piece that we have brought in is the create from RR pairs. For those of you who've been around since 8.0, you may recall we introduced this in the portal with VS Easy, and we got some feedback that, frankly, it wasn't easy. So we now go ahead and allow you to create from those RR pairs at the time that you are done with it. It's you have the ability to just go ahead and save it into your project. So it's a full first-class citizen right there and then at the time you have completed it. We also are maintaining the state while you're in the middle of creation, so you can always come back to it. I'm sure many of you have been in the situation where creating a virtual service and you don't actually have all of your requests and responses when you go to create it. So you can just pause, get the rest of your data, come back and pick up where you left off. This will also give the ability to go ahead and auto-generate the baseline tests off of your RR pair-based services. So we had introduced the auto-generate baseline back in the 8.x trail. Now we have access to that as well for request and response pairs. Again, this is in the sandbox for you guys to play with a new workflow and provide feedback. We plan on extending this into other forms of file creation and additional capabilities moving forward. Okay, so something else just worth mentioning as we make the move to 9.5, we are saying goodbye to our server console. Its capabilities have been ported over, either to Enterprise Dashboard or to the portal now. So that's one less component for our customers and organizations to have to worry about when we're deploying. And one less port we have to open up or be concerned with moving forward. So I think this is good news moving forward. We can lose the old UI and move forward with our new and improved portal, which generally is a much better user experience. So just a few other pieces. We have some additions to our common components. So the UI for access control has now been moved into the portal, so we can do everything that we need to around our users, roles, and permissions, really making portal more and more your one-stop shop for all of your administration as well as consumption. So I just noticed the questions. It seems as though we missed some of the screenshots.
Yeah, I just noticed that, and I handed you the ball. Sorry about that.
Yeah, so I'm just going to go back real quick so folks can see the quick screenshots. Some reminders along these lines, since we just missed that. If you go out to the communities, we have blogs around this with links to demos of these features. So don't worry about the small screenshots here. The new features are in our documentation, and as I said, we have links to videos for the new features available on our community site. So there was the RR pairs that you missed, and the disappearing of the console. All right, so my apologies, coming back to the common components. We have also enhanced the audit report, so you have a better view of what licenses are being consumed and what features are being used and when. We got a lot of feedback that we needed more clarity in those reports, and so we've enhanced those reports to provide you with that visibility. The coordinator and simulator views are now in the portal, so again, we get to one-stop shopping from a web UI perspective. And that is continued on with a new server monitoring component and health summary, as well as just some administrative help in the ability to change passwords within the DevTest portal when you're not using LDAP integration to manage authentication. So at this point, I'd like to open things up for Q&A. And I'll take a moment, try and see what questions we had in the Q&A session on the WebEx.
If you'd like to ask a verbal question, click #6 on your telephone keypad to unmute yourself, and you can ask a question over the phone line. While we wait for that, we do have a few questions in the Q&A panel. Sam Perez asks, does the ACL apply to the enterprise dashboard?
So in this 9.5 version, no. The ACL is still in the registry and associated with each one of the VSE registries. So the registry has the ACL, that's what you see in the web portal, and then that's where you have the LDAP connections.
Okay. And Rajesh Singh asks, I would like to know if we have an overall architecture diagram that explains about interaction among all CA components.
So there's one for just like VSE and server and the registry and portal. There's not one that shows, say, connections to APIM, things like that. So we'll take that as something we should probably update. But the architecture diagrams and the manuals are specific to just the runtime of the product itself. But that's something we can look at creating and posting on the communities and seeing about adding to the manuals.
Okay. Our next question is another one from Sam Perez. He asks, can the enterprise dashboard authenticate against LDAP?
Yes. So LDAP, no, it can't. So enterprise dashboard does not. Only the portal and registries do at this point.
Okay. Vinay Nataraja asks on CICS, does DevTest 9.5 support CICS's latest versions or 9.0?
So CICS, actually, the mainframe is in the versions like 4 and 4.2 and 5. So I think you're speaking of CTG, CICS Transaction Gateway, and that is under development. We're working on upgrading our CTG support. So CICS versions are different than CTGs. And since you said 9, I'm assuming you're saying CTG, and that's under development now.
Okay. Any other questions on the phone line? I saw a question come in through the chat. Will you be posting the recording of this meeting? Yes. Following all of our community webcasts, we post webcast recaps to the community that feature the recording as well as the slides and any Q&A transcripts. Okay, another question from Michelle that was entered privately to me in chat. I'm glad to hear that recording in the background is new in 9.5. Does this require we have CAI? So
CAI was, let me read the question again.
I am glad to hear the recording in the background is new in 9.5. Does this require we have CAI?
So anything that's a recorder from the create transactions, so whether it's the REST, the SOAP, the CICS, those recorders are all part of VSE. Anything that you're looking at the transactions that happened in the past and the analyzed transactions is the CAI components. So any of your create virtual services from that recorder in the nice wizard, the new one, that is all core VSE capabilities, versus in the menu section you go to analyze transactions, that is CAI specific.
Okay. We have another question in from Gaurav Rana. I wanted to know about HTTP 2.0 and whether it's supported or not.
So the current HTTP libraries you use are not supporting HTTP 2.0. We support 1.0 and 1.1.
Okay. Thanks. So recording in the background is supported without CAI or not? That's a follow-up to the one you just answered on the recorders.
So recording in the background, if it's agent-based recording, it's CAI. If you're starting the recorder in the VSE server through the create transactions, that is an active recording session, right? Because you're consciously starting the recorder, running the transactions, and stopping them. That's what's included in VSE.
Okay. We have another question in from Cassiano Bine. I saw some videos that Stefano posted on YouTube with some of the new features. Are we going to have more videos demoing all the new features?
Yes. We're about 2/3 of the way done, and we're going to add some more. So we are actively adding more YouTube demos of the new features. So those would be things like the API integration. We'll add demos for that. Some of the CICS, analyze transactions, those type of things. We're working on those now.
Yeah, I believe those videos, they're created. We just need to get them published and posted.
Okay, another question. What jar files have changed compared to previous versions? Is it possible to get a list of updated, upgraded, new, and removed libraries?
No. We do not have a published list of the changes in the lib folder.
Okay. I'll pause for a minute and wait for any more questions that come in. Michelle keeps sending me private messages in the chat. I think we're going to have to follow up with her after the session just to get a more clear answer to her. So Michelle, I will take down your email and follow up with you after the session. Okay, any other questions? Either you can put them in the Q&A box or ask verbally over the phone if you want to click #6 on your telephone keypad. We'll pause for just another minute to see if anyone has any additional questions. Okay, it doesn't look like we have any other questions. Chris, AK, did you guys have anything else you wanted to present?
So just a reminder that this recording will be placed in the event in the communities, so you can share it with your friends. Melanie said she will be posting a PDF of the presentation there if you want that. And please look at the YouTube videos we have right now and give us comments and feedbacks on those capabilities. And anything you see in the sandbox, if you're part of the customer validation group, you can comment on those in the customer validation. If you're not, why not? Please join. Make sure to add from the normal communities to the private community where you get to do the sprint reviews and the beta reviews of all the software with us. so you can give us feedback early on the software itself.
Great, and I will post a link to that as well in the webcast follow-up, and you can request access if you'd like to be a part of the validation group. Okay, so I guess that's it for today. I have just posted a poll that asks you to please rate the quality of today's webcast topic. We really value your feedback on what type of topics you'd like to hear more about in the future, so please let us know how you felt about the topic today. Other than that, take a look in the community later today for the recording and the slides and all of that information. And if you have any additional questions that you think of later or weren't answered on the call today, please feel free to post them in the community, or you can always follow up with any of us privately. We're happy to answer any questions you have. All right, well, thank you, AK and Chris, so much for the presentation today. It was really great, and thank you, everyone, for joining. I hope to see you at the next event. The next event will be on August 18th, and it'll cover baseline test creation using Service Virtualization Advanced. Thank you, everyone, for joining.